Good evening. I'm Michael Burchick. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, Prince George's Council 2809. I'm also a past faithful navigator of the Michael J. Curley Assembly, 4th degree. I would like to introduce our panelists for this evening. First we have Irene Fedoryka, a graduate of Juilliard School. Next we have Wilkinson, sells office papers to the government and also conducts tours at the National Gallery of Arts. Next we have Professor William May of Moral Theology. He has taught at Catholic University for 20 years and is a teacher at the John Paul II Institute on Marriage and the Family. Since our subject tonight has to deal with large Catholic families, I would like to open up this session with this question. The number of children that each of you have, since we're talking about large families. Irene?
Well, we have 10 children, and the oldest is 24 and the youngest is 10.
We have 12 children. The oldest is 33. The youngest is 18. 5 are still at home. The others have gone.
We have 7 children, 4 boys and 3 girls. The oldest is 32 and the youngest is 20.
How many are at home at the present time?
Well, right now it varies every day, sir, but we have 1 living at home right now. Although 1 just left a couple of weeks ago to take an apartment someplace. But and I'll have another one coming back home in another couple of weeks.
Oh, very good.
It varies.
I come from a family of 11, and from your perspective, though, in your experience, I would like to hear your comments on the joys of having children. Anyone like to volunteer any comments on that?
Well, people used to say to me, well, you know, there'll be such a satisfaction when they're grown, and I would think, God, if I could just get them out of diapers, I don't want satisfaction. Just get them into school. But they have been a great satisfaction to see them grow and to become what they're going to be. It is a great satisfaction.
Irene?
Well, I think it's almost easier to raise a large family than a small one because in terms of their development, they have a greater chance of developing their individuality. You focus on so many things that have to be practical in life, and each one has a chance to find themselves, I think, sooner in a situation like that. And that's very important. And they develop more independence as well as greater responsibility. And I think that the responsibility part makes the family function, because being so large, one would think, how does one manage? But they each feel that everyone has to do their little share, and they don't feel burdened by it because everyone's doing something, and it works better that way.
So actually then they all more or less act as monitors to each other and helping each other.
Right.
As a moral responsibility, and from each other they learn the different habits that one has and the qualities of life. How about you?
Well, I believe Irene and Marianne have put things quite well. I think it's wonderful to have a number of children because each one is unique and an irreplaceable person and a precious gift from God, I would say, and everyone is so different. And I think it's good having a large family because children get to know each other, they're challenged and stimulated by each other, and I think they learn to, boys and girls, first of all, they learn the differences between being a boy and being a girl, and they have a lot of fun, you know, doing that, and they, I think, try to cooperate, help each other, stimulate each other to learn. It gives, I think, a creative learning environment for children. And I think it's great because each one then has their own friends. And our children are very fortunate, I think, in having very good friends, making good friends, and then bringing them home to the family, and other children getting to know them. They get to know a great group of youngsters and socializing that way a bit and get tremendous skills in communicating and in living and getting along together with other persons.
In my case, I was wondering in yours, with regards to discipline, we found that to be somewhat of a problem at the beginning, until we finally got everybody in line. So how did you discipline your children?
Well, my wife was an extremely good disciplinarian. My wife taught pediatric nursing, and she knew quite a bit about children's development. And I believe she just knew how to give the proper kind of discipline to the children when they were young. She helped me to learn how to do that too, to do it in a way that was firm, letting them know exactly what they should do, but also treating them with great respect and tenderness, and not being mean or brutal or cruel to them. And some children are we've been fortunate, I believe, that our children were in a whole quite, although they're very independent-minded and so forth, nevertheless, I think they have a great respect for their parents and take the criticism that is given to them as it's intended to be given. So I learned a great deal from my wife on that.
You just said something that reminded me of something that took me some time to learn, that each child is an individual and you have to treat them differently. They're not all alike. They're entirely different. Do you have any experience along that line?
That's true, yes. I particularly was touched one time, having heard the St. Paul's epistle for so many years. All of a sudden it struck home when I had already about 7 children, when he talks about how a wife should love the husband and the wife respect the husband. And at the very last sentence is, the parents, do not nag your children lest they lose heart. And it's all there.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's truly it. And I think consistency is very important in raising children. You have to be consistent. And very often you're too tired, you're this or that, but you have to, in the very beginning, and it's true that a child is like a little seedling. A seedling you have to take care of very carefully and throughout the day. And as it gets stronger, a little less, and when the tree is grown, then you hardly have to look at it. It takes care of itself. And I think that's how a child, the rearing of children, is more or less geared that way. You have to really do the job when they're little, and then they take care of themselves.
About your experience, Mary?
I was going to say, I think there's something like an unspoken peer pressure, like we do things a certain way, and the children, you don't really have to say it, they know what's acceptable and what's not. Not always, but on the whole. And it's amazing because, as I say, I don't feel like we've ever specifically said this or that or not this or not that, but they seem to understand. And it must come from the large family that they're working into a society that's already established, and they learn the ground rules and pretty well follow.